So what is up guys, George here, back today on the channel where the main priority and of course the only priority is anything and everything football. And we are back today with pretty much an extension to the video that I posted last, which was my Premier League predictions for the upcoming season from 1 to 20. Of course I didn't go into it in that much detail, but you guys got the general idea of who I think is going to win it, who I think is going to come in the Champions League, the Europa League and the relegation spots. But what I really want to do today is looking back on that, I didn't really focus enough on the title race, and of course it is still early doors, but I really want to go into the opening week of fixtures first before we delve even deeper into the title race. But first of all, I want to explain to you what is going to be on your screens today, and it was Manchester City, as we know, the current Premier League champions, up against me playing as Chelsea. And you know, the way this game actually panned out really does represent how I believe the title race is going to be this season, as it was last season. That last minute goal from Sergio Aguero, it's something that is going to stick with us forever. The commentary right there was just unbelievable. It was something to cherish and something that we will never forget. And of course, you know, it couldn't have been closer at the end of last season, but this season I think it's going to be a bit different. I think there's going to be more than two teams contesting right until that final day, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. First of all, some of the teams that really impressed me at the weekend, and first of all, I think we're going to start with Swansea. Their fantastic 5-0 win away to Queen's Park Rangers. For me, I'm a betting man. I always do accumulators on all the fixtures, and I had QPR down as a home win for this. I thought Swansea were going to struggle without Brendan Rodgers, but of course we need to remember that they do have a new manager, and of course things are looking really bright for Swansea. I know a good friend of mine from school, Sam Rourke, he had Michu in his fantasy team, and you know what a pick that was. 2 goals on his debut, a very nice goal for his second as well. He looks like a good acquisition, and Swansea obviously picking up where they continued from last season. And you know, Swansea last season were a breath of fresh air, a great team to watch. They play attractive football, and of course they've carried that right into the opening day, and to win 5-0 at Queen's Park Rangers. Of course, you know, QPR last season didn't have the best of seasons, and I have already said that I think they're going to improve this season, and I do stand by that, but that really was a fantastic result for Swansea. And secondly, the team that I think really performed well on the opening day was Fulham. And of course I think it is important for us to realise that Norwich, you know, they really did make them look good on the opening day. For me, Norwich, probably that was worse than any performance that they put into the Premier League last season. They didn't look as if they wanted to be there, they didn't look fresh, and everyone seemed to be looking around, blaming each other and wondering what was going on. But for me, Fulham showed class. They're a good side under Martin Jol. They have a decent transfer policy. They don't want to spend ridiculous amounts of money for players, hence why Pogrebniak has signed for Reading. I do believe Fulham did want to sign him, but they didn't want to pay the price that I think it was either, it was a German side, I'm not too sure where he's come from, but they didn't want to pay the price for him. But Fulham, for me, looked like a decent side. I think Norwich did make them look a little bit better than perhaps they were, but nevertheless, if you win 5-0 on the opening day of a season, it can't be all that bad. So Fulham, for me, another fantastic debut start. And obviously now we're going to break into West Bromwich Albion, and of course I do realise there are a few Liverpool fans watching this video, and I'm not purposely out to hate your side, but there is a lot of work that Brendan Rodgers needs to do if he wants to get Liverpool back into the top 4. Of course we always had that top 4 of Arsenal, Chelsea, United and Liverpool. I think those days are well and truly over now. I think Liverpool have got a lot of work to do if they want to match some of these new teams like City, like Newcastle, like Spurs, who are also challenging for those top places. I think Liverpool are going to fall short again this season. I think the 3-0 defeat away at West Brom, I know they're away from home. West Brom obviously wanted to get out of the blocks quickly under Steve Clarke, and they certainly did that. And they also impressed me quite a lot. Of course, a fantastic goal from Zoltan Gera. We cannot hand that away from them. But Liverpool, once again, didn't really play the way that Brendan Rodgers would have liked them to play. They tried it. They tried playing the way that Swansea played last season under Rodgers, but it didn't quite work. I think those players need time to adapt to the new system, so I think it could be another long season for Liverpool. As well as that, Chelsea obviously winning 2-0 at Wigan, a fantastic start for them. I must admit, and I must talk about it for a second, Eden Hazard looks like a fantastic signing for Chelsea. He really is looking worth that 32 million already. He's played 2 games, 5 assists, including the 2 penalties that he's obviously won for Chelsea, both converted as well by Frank Lampard. But for me, Chelsea, there was something missing again in that game. Although they came out of the blocks early, grabbed that 2-0 lead, and that, you know, that pretty much did win them the game. Of course it did. But for me, against the stronger sides, if they're going to come out the blocks early and score goals like that, they need to maintain this high pressure and aggressive stance for the rest of the game, because teams like City, teams like United and Arsenal, they are going to turn them over. Those sort of teams will be able to maintain the pressure and the persistence for 90 minutes. And you know, Wigan couldn't really do that. But nevertheless, I thought it was a good start for Chelsea. It was a good way to start the season with a 2-0 win. And that is all I really want to say about the opening fixtures. Of course, there was some other shocks, like, Everton beating United. Some may say it isn't a shock, but I thought it was a little bit of a shock. City, obviously, 3-2 win against Southampton. That game really did speak for itself. Nothing I say will take away any of the quality from that match, so I don't really want to branch into that too much. But what I do want to go into now is going to be the title race for the upcoming season. And as we've had last year, we had City and United contesting it right down to the final minute. Chelsea slipped away. Arsenal had their revival a little bit too late, so they never really were in contention for the title. Tottenham as well. As soon as there was speculation about Harry Redknapp taking the England job, everything seemed to go wrong from that point for Spurs, and I know they won't blame it on that, but it is quite obvious. As soon as Harry Redknapp was linked with the England job, Spurs' season went downhill, and at one point they really were contesting right at the top for the #1 spot. But for me this season, it is going to be between City, United again, but I also think Chelsea are going to be right up there. What we've seen so far from them, 2 wins out of 2, arguably, yes, against Wigan and a Reading side that looked at the end as if, they were giving it away. But actually, no, I want to take that back. Reading last night almost did what Southampton did, to better effect. Reading could have won last night. I must admit, Torres' goal, he was a yard offside, and that goal really changed the game. From there on in, the dynamic was completely different. Reading had to chase the game, and that really wasn't the way they were playing it for the rest of it. I think Brian McDermott last night really got his tactics right, and I think they were unlucky to come away 4-2 losers. I think a draw probably would have been a fair result. But really for me, Chelsea, again, showing the sign of champions, being able to grind out wins from positions where it doesn't really look possible. At 2-1 down with half an hour to go, you wouldn't have thought that Chelsea would have come back to win 4-2. Arguably, yes, they did get the slice of luck with Federici's mistake and Torres' offside goal. But that is something you need if you want to be up there at the end of the season. And I think this is something that this season, after the end of last season in the Champions League and of course the FA Cup win for Chelsea, that is going to be evident amongst those Chelsea players this season. They're going to have that belief that whatever happening, whatever the score is, whatever team they're up against, they can always come out and get something from it. The Community Shield against City, they did outplay us. We did deserve to lose that, but of course losing Ivanovic early on, it didn't really show. But for me, once again, City's frailties are showing. I think they do need to spend more money. I don't really see Aguero. Of course, he's out injured now. Balotelli, I don't think they can rely on him going forward. And as well as that, Edin Dzeko really doesn't do it for me in the Premier League. He's a good player, but he just can't perform solidly for 90 minutes week in, week out. So I think Manchester City do need to sign another striker, and I realise that a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but I do think they'll be up there, of course. When you're the Premier League champions, you're not just going to fade away after one season. And of course, with the resources they have, that's pretty much impossible. It's never going to happen. So I do think City are going to be there at the end of the season. And as well as that, I think the big talking point is going to be about Manchester United. And I must admit this, guys, there's going to be a lot of United fans watching this video, but I'm not frightened to admit that I absolutely despised Manchester United until the end of last season, where I grew a lot of respect for that club, simply because they didn't spend as much money as City, and they fought right down to the wire. And I know obviously the resources at United are fantastic, a good academy, great training facilities, it's just a fantastic club over the years. But for me, United last season, they showed something that I honestly didn't think they'd be able to do, and that was resilience right into the wire. You saw on the last day, even grinding that win out, I think it was against Sunderland, they were fighting to the end, and it was just pure luck on their behalf that they didn't win the title. Bad luck, to be honest, because who'd have thought that Manchester City, 2-1 down going into injury time, would end up coming back to win the game, and then win the title, of course. I think it was just, I don't know, last season you can't explain it. Nothing can describe what happened at the end of last season. But for me, United now, with Van Persie, if Rooney and him can click, and I think obviously against Everton, 1-0 defeat, I honestly thought United were going to win it, but it isn't really a surprise. Everton are a strong team at home. They always give United some problems, of course, with the height throughout the side. But I honestly think United are going to be right up there again. It's Alex Ferguson's last season, I do believe. And as long as that guy's managing United, they're always going to be up there challenging at the top. But obviously, guys, it's coming to an end now. I think Chelsea, Manchester City and United are going to contest it. I still think, I'm going to stick with my prediction from the last game, but I think Chelsea, from seeing Hazard so far, I think he could be a big, big factor in where the Premier League title goes this season. If he can maintain the form that he has brought into the start of this season, then who knows, Chelsea could have their name on the trophy. But anyway, guys, I've spoken really fast and it's really hurting my throat. because, you know, talking about football is something really passionate for me. So it'd be great to hear what you think of this video, what you think of the commentary, and it'd also be great to think of how you think the title race is going to go. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.